Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is the Price to Sell podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Campoli, and Dean is laughing at me, making fun of me right now, but that's fine. Today, we're back with another super exciting, value-packed episode. We have a hustler in the building, and we're going to get into why. I'm saying that right now because she knows how to hustle and get shit done.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
So, well, you know what? Do you want to say your name for us?
My name is Bobbi Fahey. I
Welcome.
am based out of Durham region, and I'm on the Michael McDougall team.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And today you're on Price to Sell.
Sorry?
Today you're on Price to Sell
I
podcast.
am. Yes, yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
She doesn't venture into Toronto much,
I don't.
so she had to deal with the parking earlier today, but she made it work.
I did.
So congrats on that.
Thank you.
That's
yeah.
a win.
That's the big win today,
yeah,
right?
that's the big win.
Exactly.
But thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you.
We had Michael on an earlier episode, and he spoke super highly of you. So it's exciting to have you here. And the more I've learned about you, the more I can see why. I think a lot of people will become fans and find a lot of stuff that you're doing and you've done really inspiring. So I'd want to get into just quickly a brief background. Mm-hmm. I like how you started into the business. Super interesting.
I know, right?
So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I would say back in 2013, my husband and I bought our first home. He's in construction. So we bought something that needed a little bit of work. We completely renovated it. And I think that was probably the first moment we were like, oh, we really like this, right? And from there, after at that home for a few years, we wanted to explore another option, looking for another investment property, a flip, something to build, something like that. But for whatever reason, every time we were looking, it was like, anytime we'd found something, it was like, oh, it's sold, or, sold in 12 hours. And everything just seemed to be slipping through our fingers so quickly. And one day I was like, oh my gosh, babe, like, how do we get our hands on these properties before, anyone else? And then that's when a light bulb went off. And I was like, well, I guess I could be a real estate agent. And truly and honestly, that's where everything sparked. And I looked into it, I registered for my first course. I think I powered through that in probably about 9 months while I was still working full-time in retail. And once I had officially gotten my license, my very first deal was a 2-acre property with a tiny old bungalow on it. And we built our dream house that we are now in today.
That's amazing.
I know. Yeah.
That's like 0 to 100.
0 to 100.
You went from some realtors start, it's like, okay, let's start with leases. And then with the ambition and goal of maybe I want to maybe get into building a custom home one day.
Yeah.
Or developing. You went from brand in the business.
Yep.
Land deal.
Yep. Tear
down, rebuild.
Yep. I was also planning a wedding that year as well.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. So there was a lot going on.
That's why guys, she hustles. So how was that experience? Going through that in itself, you jam-packed a career's worth of experience in one deal, I feel like. For sure. You know what? And that entire experience I will chalk up to a nightmare and a dream all at the same time. Obviously, looking back now, we have a beautiful home that we can call our own. And, going through that entire process was, a learning curve for sure. Mm-hmm. But living in it, is something totally different. We, general contracted the entire build ourselves as well. So while we were living there, we couldn't do laundry because we were living in the tiny bungalow while we were building behind. So there's just challenges that came with that, right? It's couldn't do laundry at home because we were just on a holding tank. Had to have every other day showers for just 2 minutes. After I did dishes, I couldn't just pull the plug and let the water drain. I would literally have to scoop it out and toss it outside. Oh, wow.
We had to do that for 6 months.
Holy.
And of course, just naturally with building things, whatever budget you have, throw that out the window because everything is going to take longer and it's going to cost way more money than what you expect. But, here we are today and, we love it and it was obviously all worth it. And trying to keep my husband at the house still because, it's been 5 years and now we're sort of itching for another project. And I'm like, no, we're good here for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you probably appreciate the running water?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably doing 5 showers a day now?
Yeah. Whenever I want. It's a luxury.
That's awesome. What would you say are some big takeaways or things you've learned through that process?
You know what? I think just like be patient too. Like lucky for us, like we did come across something like relatively quickly. But if you have plans to do a build, you know, be patient for sure. Things just aren't going to pop up for you. It's going to take longer. Like I mentioned, sometimes you need to step back and stop certain parts of your build. You know, maybe you've come tight on money and you need to like save up a little bit more. Like I said, we've been there 5 years now, and we're still not 100% done, right? We just finished, landscaping in our backyard. Up until last year, it was still dirt back there, right? So it's a process for sure. So, anyone who thinks you can just build a house and it's going to be done in 18 months is just not realistic. It definitely takes a couple years to really get finished up.
100%. And that's great that you have now this experience behind you, because if you have clients that want to do this kind of thing.
Exactly. Yep.
You're like, yep, I did it.
And I have had a few clients like that, and I've definitely been like that source of, just education for them, and to teach them about it. So.
And how did the rest of your first year look?
The first year of business, I was on my own when I first started. And like I said, during that time I was building the house, I was getting married. So I definitely think like my real estate career probably wasn't my top priority. But after I'd sort of done all of those things, I really, really wanted to dive into, real estate just like full time. And I knew for me, having accountability was probably like the biggest thing that I knew that I needed. I had always come from a workplace where, like most people, you have to clock in at 9 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
And somebody is, holding you accountable to show up. And I didn't have that. And I just felt like that was something that I really needed. And that's sort of when I explored, the team option. And, I've always ever been just with Michael's team. And he worked for our brokerage. And one day they said that they were hiring. And I was like, you know what? Those guys look so cool.
Yeah.
And I'm cool. And I think I should apply. And I interviewed with them, and I feel like he called me back in 20 minutes and was just like, I think you'd be a great fit here. And honestly, I've been there 5 years now, and yeah, it's been amazing.
That's awesome. And you guys are moving.
Yes.
Get it?
Yeah.
That was a joke.
Moving.
If you follow them on Instagram, you'll get it. If not, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can see why. Michael's awesome.
Yeah.
I love the vibe you guys have.
Thank you.
Super cool for any
totally.
team, anyone aspiring to be or create a team.
Yeah.
The culture seems wicked.
Yeah.
So you guys are doing it right.
Thank you.
That's awesome. But one thing I want to definitely get into now is the emailing.
Yes. Okay.
You're like powerhouse emailer.
I am. It's where it all started for me.
Yeah. So a lot of people, people have different ways of lead gen, right? There's a lot of lead gen that people don't even know exists, or feel like there's just like that. It's like when you go to school, it's like, what can I be? Doctor, lawyer, accountant.
Right.
So against real estate, what can you do? Door knock, cold call. Call out center of influence.
Fair enough.
But you're banging out emails.
Yes. Yeah.
Consistently. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So when I first started, especially on the team, I really wanted, there were other people on the team as well that were, producing at a pretty high level as well. And I was just sort of like, the new girl on the team. I felt like I had a lot to prove, and I'm competitive too, right? So I just really, really, really wanted to do a good job. So I was at the office every single day. I was building up this database by doing multiple, pillars of lead gen, but, whether it was cold calling, doing open houses, just collecting those emails and getting them into my database was my first priority.
Yep.
And once I had built that up, I really just hammered that database like crazy. And, I got to a point where I had, about 1,200 contacts in my database, and I would email them every single week, all 1,200, not a single one would get missed. I know a lot of people ask like, oh my gosh, Bobbi, what the heck do you have to say to these people every single week? But it can be a combination of many things, market stats, recent sales, just anything really. We can get into that.
Are they all from the same area?
For the most part, yeah.
Okay.
They would be in the same area. And I think what just had me keep going is because I know everyone always says, agents will email clients maybe 6 times, and if they don't answer, they're just done, right? But I knew early on that, consistency was going to be key for me, so I never let that get in my way. And I just kept emailing them. The biggest aha moment I had, and told me like, this is why I do what I do, is I did get someone respond to me one day. And they're like, hey, Bobbi, like, thanks for all the emails. You know, I'm ready to house hunt. You know, let's set up a meeting. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is amazing. This is, you know, got me so excited. And I copy and pasted that gentleman's email address into my search bar because I was so curious. I was like, okay, how many times have I emailed this person before they actually, you know, responded to me? And I honestly think it was like 32 times that I had emailed this person over the course of like 18 months. And not one time had he ever responded to me until that moment.
Yeah.
So that's when I was just like, this is where the consistency is just key, right? And I just kept doing that and kept doing that. And probably I got about 5 or 6 deals that year from similar situations like that, where it was 6 months of constant emailing. Sometimes it was 2 years of constant emailing. But if you keep doing it, you know, the return is, you know, exactly why we do this, right?
Yeah.
And why we don't give up.
I think it's similar to like social media.
Yeah.
People get discouraged because they make a video, they spend money on it.
Right.
It's like good.
Right.
And then nothing comes from it.
Exactly.
And then it's like, oh, I'm not going to do that again.
Yep.
Similar. It's like you're sending all these emails, nothing comes from it. You might stop.
Yeah.
But you keep going.
Exactly.
And eventually it'll come because not everyone's ready in that moment. Right?
Right.
And then when they are, they might not need to respond or feel the need to respond.
Right.
But when they are, you're top of mind.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'd love to get into like some of the content you're sending them.
Sure.
Is it, like you said, market stats, stuff like that? Are you emailing daily?
Not daily, so it'll be weekly.
Okay.
Yeah, so I get through the entire database in about a week.
Yep.
But yes, it can be a combination of either market stats, a testimonial, properties that we have coming to the market that week. It could be like a service email of some kind. Like I'll break down our services, so it could be just one on photography. The next one will be on staging. What else? I'm trying to think.
Hey, hurry up and buy a house.
I know, right? Sometimes, you know, and even just direct comments like that as well. There's a really fun tab that we just recently came across. It's in Google, like just your Google Docs or whatever, but you can do a survey in there. So I send surveys to my clients to the database as well, just asking them, are you ready to buy in 3 to 6 months, a year, whatever that looks like.
Hey there, everybody. Here to give you some value as usual. I want to chat about my friends over at the Design Loading team. The team at Design Loading have designed and renovated over 50 homes in Toronto, which is crazy. Mostly midtown, downtown, but they focus on quality and fast turnarounds. Design Loading specializes in complete renovations of condos and houses. The services they offer are all done at the highest quality, and they include design, layout, and complete construction services. You'd probably think by now that their prices are outrageous, but they're not, guys. If you're looking for a team that can help you from designing to building, they're now offering a free estimate. Just head to their website and contact them via email or give them a call. Both options will be linked in our description as well. You can also check them out and some of their work on their website at www.design-loading.com or check out their Instagram, see all their gorgeous work there. It's at design.loading. Remember to head to the website for a free quote or estimate and connect with the team at Design Loading. Now let's get back to the show. I feel like it's one of those things like
it's a lot
every
of
week
stuff.
There's a lot going on in the business too, right? And every week it's so dynamics and shifts.
Yeah.
So right. How are you still gaining new emails like on a regular basis?
Like new...
Or acquiring new emails to add to the database?
So that's another interesting concept as well. Is like in the beginning of my business too, I did a lot of research about what type of content do people want, right? And I sort of researched that as well. Mm-hmm. And what I did when I sent out these emails, I sort of would copy and paste them and I'd set them into another like body email. And after a while, I would literally have pages and pages of all of these emails, right? So 2 years goes by and now I don't have to think about what I need to send. I can just go back to the email that I sent, 18 months ago and tweak it a little bit because they're not going to remember that I already sent that, right? So it's sort of just building up all of this content over time and just saving it so that it's not a constant every single week I'm trying to think of something new, right? I can go back, tweak some things, and it's like it's fresh again.
Yeah, that's very smart.
Yeah.
Because even for myself, like I've never done emailing, but I know a lot of successful realtors are always hitting the database somehow. A lot of that comes through email campaigns and stuff like that. But I always think to myself, it's like, how much information can you email or how can you even think of? Like there's drip campaigns and stuff like that. But now I see like it's like one of those things. Once you get into it,
Exactly.
you'll come up with some stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of this, you get a lot of exposure on social media too.
I do. Yeah.
So how has that been for you? Like starting to focus on between, you have your emailing, you have your social media.
Yes.
Like, how has that been for you?
Yeah. So after I've done a lot of the emailing and sort of shifted into the more of like the social media space, which it really has my heart. It's what I really like to focus on for the most part.
Do you plug your social media into the emails?
I do.
Nice.
So sometimes, yeah, like a lot of the content that I will write and post on my social email or my social post, and be like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'll add that into you know, the email that I do this week. But because anybody who, you know, is executing social media at a high level knows that that in itself is like another full-time job, right?
Yeah.
I did feel like, oh my gosh, I don't have time to send out these emails anymore, or whatever that looked like. So then I really started to focus on getting automated emails going together, right? So we do have another program called BombBomb where I will video record,
very nice.
you know, like 12 emails. I'll write out my content and I'll just record everything in one day. And then that way, if I do get a new lead or a new contact, or I want to, you know, dive back to, you know, the database that I already have, I just sort of plunk in the emails instead, and then I'm fresh, right? Like now I've got the content sending itself for me, and I don't have to do it every single week because now it's just automated.
Yeah.
So I think that's super important when you do start to, you know, spend more of your time in a different pillar that you're more comfortable with, but you know, the fundamentals of, you know, nailing that database is still very important. You just have to find another way to get the content to them rather than manually doing it yourself.
For sure.
Yeah.
And do you have maybe like someone helping you with emails and structuring stuff, or
No, I do that myself.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
You know, if we need help, we do have, you know, Kasia. She's our social media guru who like works for us. I'm sure you met her as well. She's fantastic.
She takes great photos, by the way.
She definitely does.
She took a photo of me, her, and Michael on the couch. And I don't know what she did with it, but it was just amazing.
Yeah.
And I had to call the team. I'm like, guys, I know you post the still photos of the episode. You have to throw this one in.
Right? Yeah,
so
exactly.
I loved it.
But yeah, she's so smart in that space too. So I definitely love even just like collabing with her as well, and just sort of, you know, getting some new ideas together by picking her brain too.
Yeah. And that's what I mean, like with this whole, what you guys have with the team is just powerful. It's special.
Yeah,
and it's really cool to see. I love seeing that. So how do you find these, like the BombBomb? Do you feel like you're being on video through email, you're getting more of a response, or some sort of feedback that's different than versus just the regular email?
You know what? I would say I don't think it's any better than what I do. I just think when you're sending, you know, people things, they just like to see a variety of stuff, right? I just think maybe it's a little boring if they're just consistently seeing print, right? So if you inject, you know, that you know, personal aspect and that putting a face to a name kind of thing, I just think it intrigues them a little bit more to be like, oh my gosh, you know, she sent me like 50 emails and I've never opened them, and you know, oh, there she is, and that's what she looks like, and that's what she sounds like. You know, so it's just a different spin on it. So I think just spicing it up a little bit and changing the way you do things just engages people a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Is that it comes with the authenticity.
Exactly.
Right? It's like, here's me, here's who I am.
Yep.
That's what I sound like. I'm a real human.
Exactly.
Use me.
Yeah.
Now.
And I think between that and also social media, I feel like people they feel like they already know you at that point, right? You know, so you know, people like to work with people that they know, even though they don't know me personally. But I have walked in on, you know, a few listing appointments and open up the door and I'm like, hi, I'm Bobbi. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, I feel like I'm talking to a celebrity, you know, because they, you know, follow me on social media and they're just like, I feel like I already know about you. And, you know, they ask me, like, you know, how was your trip? And I'm, you know, and I get taken aback a little bit because I'm like, oh my gosh, how do these people know so much about me?
So true.
But I'm like, oh, well, it's because I share it all the time, right? So they just know, but yeah.
I find it so interesting in our space. Dean's laughing at me again. Dean, you gotta stop this. I find it so interesting in our space that I guess how we're perceived. It's like, we have that kind of impact on people,
right?
Or they look at us in like this spotlight in a way, you know. It's very interesting because we're just realtors, you know.
Totally.
But we have to really market ourselves, and I feel like just with the day and age and how we do it, we just come across like well dressed, you know.
For sure.
You know, all this whole vibe. It's just really interesting because I get that too. A lot of people do. but the reason you're getting it is because you're putting yourself out there, you know?
Exactly.
And I feel a lot of realtors, like I just spoke to one on the weekend, and he's like, I know I have to make videos. I know I have to get in front of the camera. I'm just nervous. I'm like, what are you nervous about? It's like, well, people are going to think. I said, you are your own worst enemy right now, because all people really want is to actually learn about you and who you are. And if you just come on the camera and be yourself, then you're going to show these people, right? And it's very powerful. And that's the impact. That's the aftermath of doing that.
Totally.
So it's just, I mean, a lot of realtors scared to do it. There's a big fear factor behind getting on the socials and getting in front of the camera, but so important.
It totally is. And I think even you don't have to do all the things on social either, right? Like I very rarely do video, right? I very rarely do stories where I'm talking. I usually just post photos.
With a nice caption.
Nice captions, a nice printout. And people always say to me, oh my gosh, Bobbi, like you should talk more. And I'm like, well, I don't want to, and it's not that I'm not comfortable doing it or anything like that. It's just something that I just don't inject into it. I do it once in a while, but it's just not something that I consistently do. But what's interesting about it is that when I do decide to do it, that's when that engagement like peaks even more, right? So I think when you surprise people a little bit on social media as well, and not every single thing is consistent.
It's true.
I think that's when, again, like you just engage people and keep people around a little bit longer.
Yeah, let's talk about how you're producing in the shifting market.
Okay. I think we should double back first to being new in the business. Okay. And when I was new, I wasn't very thorough with my clients. I was just sort of like winging things. I wasn't as educated as I was today. And I did have, some clients and some sales that were just super challenging. They're the ones that are stressful, and they're the ones that suck the life out of you. And they're the ones where you feel like a failure because you just feel like you didn't do a good job. And I had enough of those where I was just like, I don't ever, ever, ever want to live that life again. So going into when I'm meeting clients now, and especially in the shifting market, like you said, I am very direct and I am very straight to the point, and I tell them exactly how this market is, where it's going, and most oftentimes, the things that they don't want to hear. And sometimes that can be that your house isn't worth what you think it is. I've gotten to a point in my business now as well where, if a client does say to me, well, I want $900,000 for my house and I think he's only going to get $8,000, I won't even take that listing anymore. I don't want the headache of it. And I do not allow my clients to, sail the ship, right? So I definitely think, being in the driver's seat is what is going to, guide you to a successful sale for everybody. But having those conversations about the market, and pricing correctly is the biggest thing right now. I spend a lot of time, researching the market, looking at homes and what they have sold for, but also looking at the competition and what is in the market, what is on the market, in Oshawa or in a particular pocket. And then I'd even take it one step further. And, if at the end of the day, with all of the research that I've done, I think this home is worth $999. I will then double back and look and see, okay, well, how many other houses are listed for $999? And if there's 12 homes for sale for $999, well, I'm not listing it for that. There's too much competition in that price point pocket. So far, what I've done has, yielded me some very good results. I have sold pretty much every single home in the shift right now in like less than, 10 days.
That's
usually
awesome.
Even in less than a week. So I'm very grateful for that. But again, it's just having those conversations with your clients up front and setting the expectation, and letting them know like how, the next couple of days are going to look like, and just being very transparent with them. And I think when you do that, they have full confidence in you that you're going to do your job and you're going to get them the most amount of money possible within a small window, because they do have a small window these days to get, maximum value beyond 10 days. And you're having a very, very hard conversation with your client.
Price drop.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think, and a lot of people, and we got to make our sellers realize, and they got to let go of the thought of things flying off the shelf.
Yep.
We're back to like the 30-day, even 60-day
For sure.
Where it's going to become more and more normal, right?
Yep.
That slower market. So yes, these conversations and setting these expectations up front is super important. So you just mentioned if they're not on the same page, you're willing to walk away. I think that's super powerful because a lot of people won't.
No, they won't. And I think those are the ones, unfortunately, that, well, they might not even get paid on that deal, to be honest.
Because they might not even sell.
Because it might not sell, or their agent gets incredibly frustrated with them and they end up just using
calling
somebody
Bobbi.
else and calling me.
Yeah.
And it has happened a couple times already this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do and will happily, walk away from those and just let them know, I'm probably not the best agent for you if, we're not on the same page.
Yep, it's so true though.
Yeah.
And it actually, like we just said, it may even work better in your favor because they go through the process, they kind of get the reality check. Mm-hmm. Maybe they let go of that agent, and then who's the first person they call?
Exactly.
The person who was straight up in the beginning.
Yep.
And it's business, and at the end of the day, we're the experts. Right? So I think that is literally how you got to be in this market. And if you're not, be a little more confident in yourself.
Yep.
Learn how to say no.
Exactly.
Right? And be okay to walk away from things.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you see things headed?
I definitely think, over this summer, it's still going to be a bit of a challenge. Obviously with the interest rates that, increased, this week or last week. Was it last week?
Last week.
I think obviously it's still going to take a couple more weeks before we really figure out the impact, that we're going to have. But at the end of the day, I feel like if we just rely on those, fundamentals of being a market expert, knowing what is happening in certain pockets, I think there's many agents out there that still can be incredibly successful in this market. But yes, do we have challenges ahead of us? For sure. But again, we've lived through this before. It will happen again. It's just sort of navigating until we're in something a little bit more balanced, right? But yeah, I'm here for it. Same. I actually love this.
Me too.
So yeah, I just find it, it's just a little bit more challenging too, right? Like, the last 2.5 years were fantastic, right? Yeah. It's just like everything was selling and everyone got paid and, everyone was popping bottles of champagne. Yeah. But like, if I'm being honest, like that was easy work.
It was.
It was easy. And, I feel like we really have to work for, our paycheck these days. And I welcome that.
Me too.
I love it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I've been saying this too. It's like, everyone's like, oh, how's the market? I'm like, you know what? This is like time to really take the market share.
For sure.
Did you you started 6 years ago?
Yep.
Before the mortgage rules came out, like before the last kind of, I guess, slowdown we saw in the market?
Yeah.
So did I.
Yeah, and it was right around there. Like I feel like I was getting my license when the market was crazy. Mm-hmm. And I did join Michael's team probably within like 2 or 3 months before it started to go down.
Shift.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
And I remember having my first listing the day before the announcement came out with the mortgage rules and the foreign buyer tax.
Right.
And I'm like, perfect. First listing, hold an offer night. Gonna sell it in 24 hours.
Right.
Can't wait. First paycheck. And then bang. I think I did 6 or 7 or maybe even more open houses every weekend.
Yeah.
No showings. I'm like, what's going on? I thought this was easy.
Yeah.
But I learned in that market. I cannot be more grateful that I learned in that market because here we are again in that type of market and we know how to sell.
Exactly.
I'm spending all my car rides right now is following up with all my showings.
Yep.
And just trying to close and bring things to the table instead of maybe agents who came in the business when things were good. Mm-hmm. It's easy just to MLS, chill back.
Exactly.
Sangria.
Yeah.
Maybe a martini.
Yeah.
Extra dirty. And you're going to sell the place.
Right.
But not right now.
Today.
So
yeah.
These are the keys.
Exactly.
These are the keys. Well, we have reached the end here.
Oh, okay.
I know, right?
I know. It did go quick, right?
Flies,
yeah.
Unfortunately. But thank you for everything.
Thank
You've
you
been
for
awesome.
having me. Yes.
It's a lot of value.
Thank you.
And I think you brought a whole new element that we haven't even heard of yet.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So thank you for that. And to all your new fans out there, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Move with Bobbi.
Perfect. And guys, you know where to find her now. But thank you so much for tuning in as always. You guys are amazing. Appreciate the love and the support. It really do. It means a lot. And don't forget to subscribe, share, tell your friends, family, and your pet squirrel. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.